District 76 to order on February 4th, 2013. Roll call, please.
Sheree Archdale, absent. Linda Bailey. Here. Michelle Franklin, absent. Rebecca Kern. Here. Julie True.
Here.
Judy Strong, present. Charles Thomas.
Here. Fine, stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any comments from the audience? Seeing none. Committee reports, building and grounds.
Just an FYI, Head Start is getting plans to add the exit door that we've talked about to the front rooms, and then another classroom can be added, and I believe they're doing the work over spring break. And it's my recommendation to you that though I won't be here, 2015 your bonds are due. And I think it's important that you develop a plan for the use of that construction money if it comes up. One of the real issues is your heating and air conditioning plans. So we're looking into putting together some kind of proposal, just ballpark, for how much would that cost.
That would also tie in with the possible building grant.
That
about this same
construction money that's coming due,
When does that have to be sent back or used?
That's not the same grant. We're talking about a construction grant that I think Jack applied for, and it's construction.
East Peoria got it last.
Galesburg just got 30 million, Peoria got 60 million.
Just got theirs, that's fine.
And we are on the list. And I've got to find the site again. It took some time to find the site and make sure to earmark that for the board so that you know particulars of the grant, what does it require, how do you execute it, what time limit do you have, is it matching, is it grant money, what are the limitations to that money? But you're going to issue bonds at the same time, so you're going to have some priorities coming, like the roof maybe, which are huge expenses, and those kinds of expenses can be covered by those bonds and that construction grant money. So I'll make sure to get all that information, because you're going to need that to have real and long conversations about those projects.
What about the other one, what is that?
We can write that for the next board meeting, the energy grant.
Energy grant, right.
Yeah.
You mentioned it once before.
Well, we have to
Board
sign
would
off on it.
decide.
Yeah, the board's got it. The board doesn't really have a choice because it was incorrectly reported when I looked back in the minutes. And I can see why the mistake was made. But it wasn't 2 years to assign and 5 years to spend. It was 2 years to spend. And there's no way you can get the lighting projects particularly completed with students in a building. And at this point in economic reality, while that's your decision, I certainly wouldn't move from T8 to LED lighting at that expense when you have so many other critical needs. The electrical in this building for one.
But now, to return that, it still would be more prudent for us to use a portion of it with a little bit of the reserve so we don't have to pay so much back to the state. Wouldn't that be right?
Well, we already used a portion of it. We used some of it to do the asbestos in Litchfield. We did the roof at Parkview. We did,
Air conditioning.
we redid the air conditioning in Parkview. And that was all taken out of the energy grant. It's the lighting that we
It's the interest that hurt us if we don't use it. I mean, without being.
Well, I think we have to get the facts on how much is it, how much, how much money is it, and how much interest is it over time. do. They charge you the interest. They don't like to take money back, but it may be a more prudent option at this point. And I've talked to several professionals at the state, and it comes with mixed review. There's some things that LED lighting is the way to go, and others think it's a waste of money at this point because replacement bulbs are too expensive. And it's difficult with this kind of grant because they don't allow you to amend it. And many grants do, but this particular one, you get whatever was written for you.
Do you know what that balance is currently?
I can get all that information for you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Wasn't it in the last?
I've brought it to the board on a number of occasions, but I
thought it was on
I
that
can,
one.
it's just a matter of looking it up. I just don't want to
Something.
make a guess off the top of my head.
The life safety study, are we completely finished with that now?
No, it's due, in matter of fact, in about 3 weeks. And we have our 4-year life safety study coming up, which is what I was going to talk about also, that I might as well bring that up now. And so I have to put everything else aside and just focus on that. The ROE will come in and do our audit in a month.
Finance?
Becky?
Oh, we have this in front of us on the Tazewell County Schools tax, and the proposal is 1 cent for every dollar spent. We talked about it last year. It's going to be on the ballot, and it's pretty self-explanatory. And so what we need to just discuss is if we just want to put this on the website or send this home, explaining it to parents. I think it should probably be in both places so that everybody has access to it. Because people that would be voting might not have children in the school. Like I said, it's very self-explanatory, and it will take the place of increasing property taxes.
To my understanding, we also, other districts have committees that help get the community aware of these things.
Right,
We're not
some
letting any of them
communities,
away.
I do believe that Morton went house to house
Okay.
and talked to people, but with the time constraint that we're under, we really don't have time. I mean, we don't have time to go.
Is it the same as any time constraint?
Well, I think they did it earlier. I mean, we would have to do this within the next month.
Well, you got till April 9th of the voting, right? Okay. I would think that there's a window when you, because there was when I had to submit the tax, a window when you have it submitted and then when they vote.
Mhm.
So I would think it's the same window that all districts have, but I could be incorrect. But, and from my understanding also, it is something that's very hard for the community to support. So I'm
Right.
kind of wondering if maybe there should be some kind of organization
That goes house to house.
to help implement that. This is very important for the school district. A lot of people, there's so much reading in society of today that just having it posted, I would tend to think that wouldn't be as effective as if we're approaching families in the community. But there again, that takes volunteers, and I'm not sure Mrs. Davis has that volunteer structure, so maybe perhaps she would have more direction on a volunteer doing it, because
Yeah,
we don't
just-
have any staff that does it, so. for the school is what I'm referring to.
Well, and another option, you know, we have the chili supper coming up. We could talk to people when they come to the chili supper about it.
There again, how many have the children in the school only when they come and not?
There's a lot of community members that
Is
come
there?
to
But,
it.
you know, we could talk to people at the chili supper or the community breakfast. I mean,
Those are good
versus,
ideas.
versus going house to house.
I think a lot of districts, I'm not sure, Morton had theirs voted down, I believe, a few times for it.
Right.
Was it
Well, and the
yours?
truth is, Judy, if those big districts don't vote for it, even if you all vote for it, you won't get it. You know, the focus is on the East Peoria, Pekin, Morton, and I'm not sure East Peoria is going to pass. I don't know where they are in their voting. I know that many, many more districts are passing this tax. But it's a huge initiative.
So, my understanding, what you just said is, if the voters in Creve Coeur vote it down, that doesn't mean we'll get it. Is that what
No,
you
it's
just
the
said?
other way around. The voters in Creve Coeur could vote for it,
Uh-huh.
but if the larger communities voted it down, my
Isn't that
understanding
for
is that
them?
you wouldn't get it. You have to all get it or no one gets it.
It's all of Tazewell.
It's a Tazewell
It's a
County.
Tazewell County thing, it's not a village thing.
I see.
So,
And is the school even allowed to spend any money on this?
There are absolute regulations on what you can do for something like this, and I wouldn't quote them to you, but yes, there are absolute boundaries to what you can do and not do. I was a part of this in Champaign. The school district set up forums for community. Metamora went to house parties and discussed, much like a political campaign. So there's strategies exercised in other communities, but Champaign went through two huge appeals before it was finally passed.
Is there any linking between the larger communities then that could be done? You know, could we link up with East Peoria and say, what are you doing? Can we hear what you're doing?
We did that the last time. We partnered with the superintendent over at East Peoria High School, and he gave the presentations throughout East Peoria. It failed, but we all partnered at that point.
The details you presented to us, though, are very good.
As you know, districts had a truck for quite a few years, and it's at the point where it's down more than up. And the district has received 2 offers for $300 for it. Under the NADA guidelines, very low retail is $1,600. Now, we're not going to get $1,600. It needs steering work done on it, tires, maybe a transmission work. But rather than give it at the first bid of $300, it was brought out that we could use maybe a closed bid. And if we get 50 to 100 more, so be it. But it's of no good for us. And at the amount of years it's on it and the time it's been spent sitting, we might have valve problems or anything else. I mean, if we could get $1,000, that would be great. But for the sale, we could do the bids as long as we did not make the sale without board approval. So
Do we need a motion for that?
we can do it at the next meeting. But if you look at 4.8 and I think 4.10, it's disbursement of district property. The 4.8 is talking about any property other than buildings and land. And under it, it says that the superintendent or designee may unilaterally dispose of personal property of the diminutive value. Now, what's diminutive and what isn't? So, you know, we discussed it and we'll bring it before the board, but just to give you an outline of what's going down, I think the bid would be, a closed bid would be a good thing, and set it at minimum of 300 and see where it goes to. Some people are saying, well, they'd have to repaint it. You know, no one, I doubt if anyone's going to paint 1986 Dodge pickup. They may, but there's rust and everything else to contend with. But no one feels safe driving it as it is. So. Also, we have, starting tomorrow, insurance meetings. They're going to be reviewing the 6-month statistics, and you should have a handout in front of you with some of the changes to the law. So I can only think that everyone's just fighting at the bullet to get to this meeting with insurance the way it is, and with the federal guidelines being changed in front of us almost daily. So something to look into and wait for. Superintendent's report.
I've got something, another request under finance. At the last meeting, we got a copy of the petition challenges, and I requested a cost analysis of that, both attorney cost, time for employee cost, everything else. I also would like a cost analysis done on FOIAs and OMAs, both employee time cost and attorney's time and cost. So.
Along those lines of finance yet, are you done, Mrs. Drew?
Yeah.
Have we come any further looking into cash events to be more accountable on anything in that direction yet?
What are we talking about?
I believe a few meetings ago I had brought forth from some of the financial seminars that I had attended that they were really focusing on the cash that is brought into districts and the accountability of that, and we had discussed that.
Well, and you remember this whole revisiting of the parent fundraising. We are working, actually our new auditor is going to come up with some different templates and reporting systems, and then Linda Foyed all of this stuff, and you can see this, Julie asked me, these are FOIAs. My job is not to do FOIAs, and it takes an inordinate amount of time. Now, just for this information, and not to say that your recommendation is not a good one, it is. You know, we're very prudent about our money. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of people I talk to celebrate the job we've done. It's only within these rooms that we seem to have trouble. But this takes a while, you know, where the PACE group has agreed to take over concessions to be more accountable. Part of the problem is that you have so few people helping at those events. That's where you get kids involved, and they don't pay as close attention. And so we're going to ask that the parents be in a supervisory role. I called the auditor and asked that he complete some forms so that we have more accurate accounting practices. And those ends you work to accomplish. So yes, in answer to your question, I think we do continue to make strides towards securing our finances even more than they already are. To respond to Linda's FOIA, you know, she was interested in all these activity concessions. This took Amber Pilkington all day. You know, these are not critical events. Yes, there's something that you look at, there's something that you pay attention to, but it certainly is not a priority over the teacher's contract, over insurance, you know, over many things that are the press of the day. And I'm sure that as time unfolds, you'll look at it more clearly. It's one thing to make a recommendation, it's another thing to stop all the work, to visit the system, to look at the systems in place, to revise those systems in a way that is workable for the manpower that you have.
I have just heard the emphasis at those.
Oh,
financial-
absolutely.
I mean, they're on top. They're the first things they discuss.
Because embezzlement is a big issue.
Not only embezzlement, but just the accountability of cash, that it is so easily dissipating, and that if you put guards on them, that you'll, all the reporting said that everything increased. And
I think those are points well taken, but every district doesn't run like ours. Our money is very carefully watched, controlled. There are 15 different ways we look at the money.
so
Many
you've got more
districts,
than one, the one that takes the cash in. Let's just take one example. So you got a sports event. The people that take the
no,
cash.
I'm not talking about the sports event. The
Well,
sports
that's
events.
one of the things they're talking about.
Well, and the sports events are something that they're bringing up, not just for us, but for everyone.
Absolutely.
Because we're all
Absolutely.
having issues with it.
Right.
And it's an issue of manpower. It's an issue of the same people being assigned to collect the money, to record the money. When you have many people's hands in a pot, you have problems.
Well, they're stating that the ones that collected should be different from the ones that counted and the ones that deposited.
Well, in matter of
So-
fact, I recently talked to an accountant who's willing to take all parent club money, all athletic money, and process it through QuickBooks and have it be done off campus.
But that's
So-
going to be his end because he's very accountable. But you got to start at the beginning, where it comes in at is what these financial,
And so what's your recommendation?
the accounting where you have tickets. You know, you're selling tickets, you count those tickets, and if the money doesn't match the ticket sales, then you know you've got a problem going someplace, is where they start. That's, you got Coke machines is another area they said. You don't have the same person collecting the money, and we might have that covered, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're the same person, and secretaries in both buildings, secretary, principal.
Okay, they're saying it should be different people. You should always have an accountability, is what they're saying.
Well, maybe
More than-
write up a proposal, and then tell us what direction you think we have to go based on the seminars, and then I can pass that along to Paul or Brad.
You're passing along paperwork too.
Well, I think I have to be clearer about what I'm asking them to do or try. Or if it was, tell me the name of the speaker, and I'll call the presenter and ask them to give me their information.
I'm sure I've got their,
Yeah, just give me the name of the presenter.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Why is this not micromanaging?
And this isn't, Linda?
No, that was a request.
No, this was a FOIA, and by the way,
Well,
I did
after
ask.
2 months,
I did, no,
for you.
well, I did ask.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. This is a huge job, and
agree.
to ask somebody to call this information when we have the press, so many other things pressing. Is it common sense to say that money that comes in from athletic funds are not properly audited, controlled? Absolutely. In every high school and every, probably not college as much, but in every high school, grade school, this is an issue. To say that it is now this is now a priority?
The parent club was a priority. This is important. I'm not trying to brush it
This
off.
is the same thing as Judy's talking about. This is, you FOIA'd me on the activity account
After
for
2 months,
Parkview.
I ask in December, and then I ask again in January.
I've got the emails, Linda,
I know
and
you do.
it was and it was based on the blog bias, which I've got copies of that. It's extremely defamatory.
It's still circulating in the school, though.
Well, it circulates in the school because it circulates on a blog that's based on anonymous, cowardly, defamatory, slanderous material.
Okay, but let me ask the rest of the board. Does this not concern you when there was only one deposit made for $290 since August?
Be concerned when Amber and Jokish and Paul come and talk to you about it. Or solve your problem and don't have it at all. But I have a very small window to finish up for you. Now, would you rather have...
Now, wait, the deposits that she's talking about, you got to understand that when they go to purchase more candy and stuff, that money comes strictly out of that, and then volunteers
Cash?
go over, comes out of that, and then goes over.
That's
Now,
not a
accounting,
good
I'm
procedure.
not saying that I agree with everything.
Linda, it's been the procedure. You were the board president for how many years?
And everything was in with the check, out with the
It
check.
has not changed.
It has not changed one iota since you sat on this board.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that it shouldn't,
Right.
but I'm saying that you were the board president for a great deal of this time, and this problem is not new to us or to anyone else. I'm not saying it's not important, but with a very short window of opportunity to make a transition here in leadership, there are many other things that are critical that you get done. And this is not it. I have, however, made contact with the people that I mentioned, auditors, accountants, and believe me, Paul, Amber, the whole group, if I could speak for them, would be more than willing to just hand over a bag of money and say, here, you do it, to somebody else.
Well, and I think what they are bringing up, it does relieve those that, like Amber and Paul, when you have a second accountability, like you're talking about the accountant that is booked.
So we're gonna hire
Thinking.
an accountant.
No, I think she
To
said
come.
he was going to volunteer.
No, he's not going to volunteer.
Who's
It
gonna
would be
volunteer
non-
in
It
this
would be a
account?
nominal.
A lot of the districts stated right in their seminars that they have constituents right in their districts that
Well, they have
volunteer.
financial folks, yeah,
Yeah,
that
and they
that do it,
volunteer,
yeah.
so they do. And I thought, I'm sorry, I thought.
But for years, we had parents at the ball games. Julie, I think you took money for years, didn't you? Sat at the door and took money.
And
Yeah,
so
but
did
nobody
any-
sat next to me to make sure.
And
I
did
was
anybody
doing it
have
right
tickets
either.
or did
No, but
anybody
now they're
know?
having problems, just kids doing it? Is that what I
No, there is
understood?
an adult
No,
at
there
every
is.
table. There is a parent or an employee
there's
that
not.
takes every money at every sporting event.
Not
I've seen
true.
it, and they are watched. And then there's an employee, usually, because usually it's either, there's an employee at the concession stand. Yes, there are children helping, which is good for the children to learn how to help and be accountable, but they're there. I mean, it's been every time. Miss Reagan over here took money at the door at a lot
And when
of
my kids
sporting
came back from high
events.
school and did it because no one would
It's just
volunteer.
that
That's
the
right.
second
We're
balance
not
there.
communicating. Well,
It's the second
Oh,
balance,
yeah,
I
I
think,
know.
that the
Yeah, she-
financial seminars
right.
are trying to bring up. Yes, you've got wonderful parents, you've got active children that need to learn and everything. So just make that second accountability by having that accounting afterwards. You know, they sold this many tickets, we should have this many dollars. They sold this many candy bars, which she's got in place.
So what you're recommending is that there's a
We buy a
roll
roll of
of
tickets.
And if they, for every, they have children, if they have different prices, they have children's prices and adults.
So you have to buy
prices.
2 different colors.
You buy 2 different colors and
And you
then,
start with the number, whoever
and then you
gives them the
account for
tickets.
that. And if I were them, I'd pack it all up in a nice little bag and send it to the,
Actually, I think as far as extracurricular activities go, with the increase to the officials, we're probably not going to be standing, by the time you buy the tickets, we're going to be at a deficit.
They're
real
only
quick.
$5, Ms. Troop said, at
I don't know how
Walmart.
much they are for sure.
well, and I think in fairness, you
I honestly,
Yes.
I don't know how much they
If
But
are.
they're-
in all truth, this which Mrs. Bailey has brought up was troubling to me. Well, she was president of the board. I brought up that there was a lot of free candy leaving out of that.
Well, I
room.
think that's still the case.
And what I found to be, it sort of went in one ear and out the other at that time.
Well, and
And
now
now I'm
the
sort of baffled
PACE
that
group is going to
we're
take
having-
over concessions, and that will
Great
be a
stuff.
big assist.
So will the organization still get the money then, or no? Like the girls' basketball team gets
I
a
think that it
percentage of
will.
it, drama?
That's what
I
they've
think they'll
always
have
said.
to decide how
I would
many,
think by
they'll
month.
divide it up evenly or divide it up into who needs it, or, I'm not, I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know what they talked about, but
It's handled much easier at the baseball games because Paul does the sales there. Takes the money, him or Cleveser, with very few. I mean, a child might take a soda to a person or whatever, but everything is more central.
The big
I think-
account out of Peoria is who is stating that if you have just these little types of tweaks on what you're doing, that you're going to see that you're going to cover. Everybody that did it was the statement that all of their financial monies increased overnight.
Okay, can I just say something though? We might be, as a board, a little more concerned about all the money we're spending with attorney fees. The thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars we're spending with that
And
versus a
absolutely.
$500 athletic money.
It's just that they're saying every penny right
Well,
now
every
is
penny
what they're
counts,
trying to do.
exactly,
And they
so-
didn't have it on voting, so I can't tell
Well,
you. I'm just
you know what I'm
bringing you
saying?
what-
I mean, like, we've got, there's priorities
I was in that
here.
process. I know how many phone calls to the lawyers that I had to make that I haven't even heard yet.
Well, and this.
So, and the FOIAs, I
And the
know they've been for a
OMAs,
year and a
and,
half.
I mean, I'd like to know how much money a state attorney, and, I mean, yes, we're not paying the state attorneys, but they have to stop what they're doing. I'm sure the state attorneys have a few more priority things to do than to deal with our Open Meeting Act violations.
Okay, Julie.
You know what I
I'll give
mean?
you an example though. In here is the monthly Parkview activity report, which is something the board should have been getting every
And you know
month
what,
in
Linda,
appendix.
sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't because they
know.
get busy in the press of the day. But I asked, and no one in the history of boards has ever heard of a sitting board member FOIA-ing the superintendent to force that agenda item to become a priority. That is
How long do you
ludicrous.
think I should wait? I waited 2 months. I thought
Well,
that
you know,
was-
I don't believe you waited 2 months. I did respond to you that it would come up. It was like your list of 82 things that you had. It's something Chuck and I have talked about. The superintendent is not, and remember this for the future, a direct line employee of any one board member. If the majority of the board decides a direction, that's the direction that the superintendent takes. They don't take orders from individual people because that individual person has an agenda. There are not the hours in the day. I still have the list of 81 things.
And I agree. And a board member is only a board member when they're sitting at the table. So when I got the email that listed out the times that interviews will be taking place from the current superintendent, I wondered when the board discussed this.
I was just emailing from Chuck and Dave Love. They asked me to send the emails because Chuck was involved with his family. It's not for me. I have no dog in this fight.
I don't know what that's even about, so.
It was a schedule of meetings, and Chuck asked me to send them out. Dave Love and Chuck met.
Was that the last
And
word?
so I have absolutely no,
Oh, I didn't
In
get
fact,
it either.
the March 7th, I received a text from Dave, and he's
you can pass those.
saying, well, we already passed the same thing.
Chuck, Judy said she didn't get it.
I think she wasn't here.
Well,
She wasn't here.
It could be the presentation of applicants, may be the 8th, but that may have been a typo on him, but I haven't been able to respond or ask him back. by
But board
email.
participation,
I don't think that's,
there was none.
the
Well,
IASB
what-
decides that, Linda, not us, they're in charge of this train.
You asked if I was willing to bring Don Bachner and Bill Bennett back in to do that, to save funds. Well, I saw
Chose
Bill
no.
Sunday. He doesn't even want to talk about our district.
Okay. And IASB is fine,
And, yeah, that's the way it's going to be.
but
I think we're going to,
no discussion on the days.
That's when
this
the,
is set up by the state.
that's not our deal.
So this is just their interviewing, is what you're saying?
No,
They're
they can
interviewing
set this up,
us.
they, you know, they have many, many, many people
Right.
across the state that
Right.
they have to be present to their districts. So they take a date, the dates that are available, they have a process that they go through. It's very thorough, I just went through it with Lewiston, and it requires about 7 meetings. And so they schedule this with other competing districts that, for whom they are also providing service. And those are the dates they gave us.
To come here, what interviews they've got?
Yeah, they'll
It's just
be,
hearing who's
the
up
first couple of dates will be, and I'm speaking only out of memory, because I
It's right there, what they
will,
have.
will be the candidates that you'll interview. The first day, they will talk to you about which candidates are available. The next 3 times are 2 candidates each night that you will interview. The next week is the final 3, and they'll go throughout the district. And then there'll be other procedures that they go through.
But this, I'm confused with your statement. So these are just for our school district, these
Yes.
dates? Okay, they're not for an
No.
area.
But
It's
Linda
just for
asked
the
why she was
candidates.
not involved. It's between the president and the Illinois Association of School Boards.
Right. At this point, there's really no reason for
As long as you
all
can
of
make
us.
those meeting dates.
But it's not necessary that you all do. If you do, that's great. Many, many boards have a small group.
Yeah, I didn't even have this, so.
I would like to utilize all our members for the interviews. As you can read there, it's going to be X amount each night from the 12th to the 14th. And then the final candidates, the 19th through the 21st. And we'll tour the final candidates through both of the facilities and let them meet staff. And I'm hoping, as I talked to Dave, he seemed to think we might be able to get 10 or 12 candidates, maybe a few more. So,
Along with that, Mr. President, have we come, I know I presented what was our responsibility on Mrs. Davis on her contract. Have we gotten any kind of answer or directive on
refresh my mind.
that? The financial
Oh, not
ending
yet, I will.
of,
Okay.
So what did the board decide to offer as a salary?
Yeah, I talked to Dave, and we compared her lump sum package, and it goes from that to 140 with experience.
Judy, I'm unclear about what your question is. What's your question?
It isn't an appropriate thing to ask right now, but that's fine.
we voted on accepting your resignation.
June 30th.
Right,
So you pay me until June 30th, if that's your question.
that is my question.
You pay me
Because I
till
was
June
told
30th.
that it was for
That's
your
why I
contract.
resigned.
That's what I declared there was a sense of need, right?
Maybe additional sick days, vacation days.
Would rightly so for anything that's on her term.
Sick days just get rolled over in TRS, and vacation days you lose, so it's nothing unique.
If there's nothing, anything else? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
I
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did we send out invitations to the candidates for the dinner coming up in March? Does anyone know? Are we going to?
I think it was it oral?
Yeah,
When
they
we
can
came
look
in?
at it's on the.
There were questions about that the last people that did that paid for
We
their
paid
own.
for
Yeah,
it.
you paid for our own, and I think you guys did it.
But I don't think you have to, do you?
Now, if it was fair for one, it's fair for all.
Yeah, I think they paid for their own, and I think you're the one that sent out the invitations before, I didn't. I don't have anything to do with elections.
It's not elections, it's,
Well,
What is it?
You set it up that they should pay, so I think we'll stick with that.
Yeah.
well, it's just for the candidates.
Right, and you set it up that they should pay, I clearly remember that, so.
And it
you
was the
sent it
board
out
that
before.
put out it wasn't the superintendent that put out the invitations, it was the board that put out the invitations. There was an announcement at a meeting, and so we did that, we
And there
announced
were
it at the
copies
last
on
meeting.
Stephanie's
And there was copies on Stephanie's desk, and if a candidate wanted it, they could pick it up. 'Cause
Okay.
that's what we did, and that's how, and then we paid for it, because I wrote Stephanie a check. So, like I said, it was an announcement at a board meeting. So,
And consider it announced?
it was announced at the last board meeting,
Okay.
just about it.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Roll call?
Linda Bailey,
Aye.
Becky
Aye.
Julie True,
Aye.
Judy Strong, yes, Charles Thomas.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.